Sometimes don't sleep or eat, but when you fight for freedom, in the end you'll be free. Oh, get on, boy, children, children, get on, boy, children, children, get on, boy, children, children, let's fight for human rights.
Hi, everybody. You've just been treated to the voice of our speaker for this evening, Mr. Hollis Watkins. As part of the Honors College Shared Read program, you all know, you have already read a book called Freedom Summer about the voter registration drive in the state of Mississippi in 1964. As part of the Shared Read program, we also always like to be able to invite a person to come and speak with you who's had direct personal involvement in what you've been reading about. Tonight, this year, it is my very, very great pleasure to be able to introduce you to one of the participants in Freedom Summer, Mr. Hollis Watkins. Hollis Watkins was the first student in Mississippi to join Bob Moses, who was the inspirational leader for Freedom Summer. And Hollis Watkins was also the first student in Mississippi to join the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was first incarcerated in 1961 for leading a sit-in against a segregated library in Macomb County, Mississippi. And during Freedom Summer, Mr. Watkins led 24 volunteers in the Macomb area, which was generally considered to be the most dangerous part of Mississippi for civil rights workers. He later went on to serve as director of the Organic and Sustainable Agriculture Program of the Mississippi Association of Cooperatives before founding a group called Southern Echo in 1990. And through his work with Southern Echo, Mr. Watkins has really, I would say, continued and even expanded, I think, on the spirit of what he was doing in the summer of 1964. Southern Echo has organized and supported local redistricting efforts in the state of Mississippi aimed at more effective Black political representation in that state. Southern Echo has carried out voter education and registration and has monitored election practices in that state. This organization also addresses other critical local issues for African Americans in Mississippi and elsewhere, including environmental safety measures and educational policies. I invite you tonight to listen to and converse with Mr. Hollis Watkins, who has said, "When I was much younger, I got my strength from the older folks. And now I'm a little bit older, I get my strength from young people." So I invite you all to give him lots of strength tonight in this conversation with Hollis Watkins.
Thank God. You hear me? Good you can hear me, and I can't hear myself, so that makes it better. I want to thank God for such a wonderful introduction. And I want to give thanks, first of all, to Almighty God who has kept me here through all of this period of time, and for all of you that have made this event possible. So I'm hoping to share with you a little bit of some of the things that I have experienced. And I want to, after that, open the floor up for questions, because I don't want to just be up here rapping for 2 or 3 hours, something that you're not interested in. I'd rather be answering your questions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my history and some of the things that I've gone through and some of the things that I did back then and some of the things that I'm doing now. I'm going to open it up for questions. And then at some point in time, we'll cut in and we'll sing a few, as people refer to them, as freedom songs. And then we'll take some more questions and answers, and maybe close out with a couple more freedom songs or songs of struggle. Just to make sure I'm on the right path, I want to see the hands of everybody that can sing. No, I forgot. I didn't ask the question, because when you ask it that way, you force people to get in an untruthful mode. So I want to see the hands of everybody that have never, at any point in time in your life, attempted to sing at least one line of any verse of any song. So I want to see your hand, because if you have not done that, then you truly can't sing. If you've done that, then you can sing. I know when you talk about singing, you automatically take your mind back to quality. I can't sing as good as she can sing. I can't sing as good as he can sing, so therefore I can't sing. So we don't want you to discredit yourself, put yourself down. Yeah, I can do it. Just because I can't do it as well as you can do it, I can still do it. So that's the attitude we want to look at. I am Hollis Watkins, and I was born in rural Lincoln County, Mississippi. I'm the youngest of 12 children. My parents were sharecroppers down in the southwest part of Mississippi. For those of you that may not know where Lincoln County is, if you're going straight up Highway 55 towards Jackson, Mississippi, when you get into Mississippi, you get into Pike County. The next county is Lincoln County. That's the county that I was born in. Not too far from the Louisiana line. So, those of you that's from Louisiana, you know, I'm like your next door neighbor. One of the things I think is important for young people to know today, and that is that the vast majority of people that was involved in the civil rights movement were young people. The vast majority were young people. They were not old people. There were basically two different groups of young people that was real active. I was a part of the older group of young people, because the older group of young people were those that was between the ages of 17 and 22. The younger group was between the ages of 11, 12, and 16. So the vast majority of people were young. I first got involved in the civil rights movement in 1959. Let me see the hands of those that can remember 59. All right, not many of them. So that's when I first got involved in the civil rights movement with the youth chapter of the NAACP, and worked with the NAACP from 1959 to 1961 when I got involved with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Growing up as a young black person in Mississippi, segregation was alive and well. We couldn't go to the same schools that the white students went to. We couldn't even go to church with them. If black and white were found meeting together in a facility, they would be arrested and put in jail for violating the law. It was the law that black and white were not to meet together. When I was going to school, I often wondered why was it that the books that I got in my school had the name of 7 or 8 people in there that I knew None of them. What I found out was that the books that we were using in the black schools were books that were handed down once they were no longer fit or considered fit for white students to have in their school, so they were passed to the blacks. Eating facilities, for a while there were no such thing as eating facilities for blacks to go to. After a while, things got better. They created a window in the back of the building where blacks could go and place their orders. They gave them money, placed their order, and they closed the window in their faces. And once they completed serving all of the whites that were up front in the eating facility, then they came and brought your order back to you. I can remember a time when discrimination and segregation was so prevalent until they were not even selling black people sugar. Didn't have a lot of it, so they said they couldn't sell it to black folks. And they wouldn't. And I often wondered also, why was it that every day on my way to school, white students on a bus passed by me and my school, and I couldn't ride on that bus. I had to walk to school. If I went around the road, it was about 3 miles. But sometimes I could go through the woods and cut off a mile and a half. But the white students were riding the bus. I couldn't understand that, so naturally I knew something was wrong and something had to be done. Something needed to be done. And it was seeking answers to these kinds of questions and many others that led me to get involved in the civil rights movement. When I got involved in the civil rights movement, I was initially trying to get black people registered to vote, especially when I got involved with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And for attempting to get black people registered to vote, it carried me on a many venturous journey. It carried me to a point where I realized that there were no public libraries for black kids to go to. And I felt that that was not right. So instead of registering people to vote, we decided to take a little time off and look at integrating the public library. And that's where we had decided to go, integrate the public library. We had formed a group in Pike County that was called the Pike County Nonviolent Direct Action Committee. And we were ready. We were ready to take it all on. We had a group of about 22 people, all young people, that was ready to go sit in at the library. We decided on the day we were going to do it and where we were going to meet that morning. And lo and behold, on the morning we were supposed to have our demonstration, we all showed up. And guess what? The parent of 20 out of the 22 had shut their children down and said, you cannot go. So in essence, I'm saying out of the group of 22 that was supposed to have been going to the library, only 2 of us was prepared to go carry it out. So we attempted to carry it out. We went to the library, but it showed that we had not done our research too well. The library was closed on that particular day. But we would not be outdone. We said, there's a Woolworth store right down the street. We are going to the Woolworth store and sit on them stools and order us a cup of coffee, even though we don't even drink it. We're going to order us one. And that's what we did. We went in the store, and lo and behold, we couldn't find two seats right together. We didn't want to be divided, we wanted to be together. There were not two seats right together. So we walked around in the store for a while. The police came in the store. We said, oh my God, so this man coming to arrest us even before we sit down. So we pretended we were looking for things in the store, police walking around in the store, and finally, two seats became available. We ran and sat on those seats at the end of the lunch counter. The white waiters ran down to the other end of the counter. The police came and arrested us, put us in jail. That gave me the opportunity to spend 34 days in the jail for attempting to order a cup of coffee. Now, while I was in jail, and this showed that you had to be very careful, because while I was in jail, they sent a white woman in the jail and turned her loose in the aisle in front of my cell. And she came in staggering as if she could hardly walk, cursing the police for everything she could say, and saying that the police had beaten her all under her clothes. So she wanted to show me where they had beaten her. But when she put her foot up on the bars at the front of my cell, I went to the back and said, please, I don't want to see. I do not want to see. Now, why was that so important? Had I been willing to take a look, all she had to do was reach through the bars and grab me and scream. That would have been the death of me, because they would have charged me with attempting to rape a white woman while in jail. There was another trick that they attempted to get me to fall for. One day the jailer came and said, okay, Hollis, since you've been such a good nigger, we're going to let you go. So I said, who paid my bond? He said, nobody. If you've just been a good nigger, we're going to let you go. He said, the system don't work like that. You know it don't work like that. So I'm going back into the jail. So he said, stop. Don't make another step. And he said that, I knowing he might shoot me, I better see what's happening. And he whistled. And when he whistled, two black men came from around the side of the building with bloodhound dogs. And he told me, he said, you better be glad you didn't walk out that door, because if you had, I was going to whistle and them boys was going to turn them dogs loose on you. So that was a trap. So there were certain things that we had to be mindful of in order for us to protect and save our lives. The 3 civil rights workers in 1964, Cheney, Goodman, and Swerner, that was killed. They were let out of jail in the night, which was a no-no. You fight like tooth and nail to stay in there until somebody else comes and gets you, or you fight until daylight, because that's the sign of death. But these were lessons that we had to learn. There were many times that I was chased by white people with guns, knowing that if they caught me, then that meant death. There were times when they would even follow you up and down the street, trying to get in a position where they could do something to you and hurt you. But we knew the struggle had to continue. There was another time that I experienced where the police officers, after they got through questioning me, put me in a little room all by myself. About 3 minutes later, 3 white men walked into the room. I'm sitting back in my little chair, just kind of chilling. And the door opened, 3 white men walked in. They had a rope in their hand. The rope had a hanging noose in it, and just beneath the hanging noose was a little red ribbon. And they looked me dead in the eye, and they said, "Okay, nigga, so get up and let's go. We gonna have a hanging here tonight, and you gonna be first." So when they said that, I sure enough just kind of sat in my chair and kind of leaned back and crossed my legs and sure enough just kind of chill. And looked them dead in the eye. And they left. So it was the Klan working in conjunction with the police department. Now growing up, as a young child, my daddy always taught me, he said, you stand up for the truth, even if you're the only one that is standing. And he said, in most cases, when unrighteousness confronts you, if you look it dead in the eye, and it's serious, then unrighteousness will flee. And I felt that that's part of what was happening as a part of that. My family had been a sharecropper's family. And me being the youngest of 12 children, we didn't have much money. But I didn't know I was poor, or as we would say, poor, until I first enrolled at Tougaloo College. And that's when I found out that I was poor. Because at that time, when I enrolled my first year at Tougaloo College, my parents made less than $700 a year. And a lot of the children laughed at me, and that's where the poor thing came in. But I knew that I had a brain that I could use, and I knew if I was persistent and consistently worked at something that was about righteousness, that I would be successful in it. Later on in my civil rights experience, I'm going to share this and then I'm going to open it up for questions. Later on in my civil rights life, I was working in the Delta of Mississippi, trying to get black folks registered to vote. And for attempting to get black people registered to vote, I was arrested, sent to the county jail, then sent to the county penal farm, and then sent to the Mississippi State Penitentiary, where I spent 55 days in maximum security unit on death row for attempting to get black folks registered to vote. One end of death row was solitary confinement, at the other end was the electric chair. Solitary confinement was a 6 by 6, 6 feet wide, 6 feet long concrete cell. The only place you could get air was in a small crack underneath the door. They put 14 of us in there. 14 men in a 6 by 6 concrete cell. One of the guys passed out. We managed to revive him by putting his nose to the crack. He eventually was allowed to come out. Every day they threatened to take us to the other end of the row, which was the electric chair. So it was like torture every day. every day. But we had to figure out how to overcome all of that and not allow that to deter us, to turn us around. One of the freedom songs said, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. So we had to make sure that regardless of what it was that they came up with, we didn't allow that to stop us. They also handcuffed me to the bars. In this fashion. You could go out a little bit, you could stand straight up. Yes, and if you had to go to the bathroom, you went right there in that position. And if and when they came through, it made you clean it up, and they handcuffed you right back there. They had regular cells that they put us in. They had cells that were built for 2 people. But they put 14 of us in the cell that was built for 2 people. And when I went in, they said, okay, niggas, so get like you got when you came into the world. So, I pulled off my shirt, pulled off my pants, and I even took off my undershirt. But I'm saying, I know I'm supposed to be a little bit respectful. I'm not going to pull off these undershorts. And you know what happened? The man looked at me and said, nigga, did your mammy bring you in the world with them things on? He said, if you don't get like you got when you came into the world, I'm going to show you something. The bunks that we had to sleep on didn't have any mattress. We didn't have any pillows. We didn't have any pillowcases. We didn't have any sheets, no blankets, nothing. They were plain steel bunks. So what I did, I'd spend 2 or 3 nights sleeping on the steel and 2 or 3 nights on the concrete floor because consciously, your mind messing with you, the steel getting hard, which is a reality, and your mind said, well, the concrete is a little bit softer than the steel, so get down on the concrete. You get down, and after about 3 nights down there, this thing getting hard too. Maybe you need to get back up on the steel. So I switched back and forth for 55 days, either on the concrete or on the steel bunks. So that's a little bit of some of the things that I went through. And for all of us, one of the things that gave us spirit, inspiration, and motivation was we sang the freedom songs. And that's why I want us to sing some of those tonight before we go, so you can see how it goes. I know you may not know them, but there are some I can teach to you in 30 to 60 seconds. Especially since all of us sing. Now, I'm going to stop right there and see if I can answer some questions. Question. Everybody's waiting on everybody else to ask the first question. Yes, ma'am.
What motivated you to keep going when you were in such a situation of being incarcerated and all of being threatened?
One of the things that motivated me to keep going was I had some kind of understanding of what my people had gone through. And I didn't want to have to continue to go through that, or my children to go through that. So I knew it was time that I do something. And also, the other thing was that I would be out trying to get people registered to vote and doing different things. And every so often, I'd see an older lady sitting on the porch, an old man, and they just give me the nod and the wave, as to say, go ahead on, son. Go right ahead, go ahead. And looking at them, after having gone through what they went through, saying, I I appreciate what you're doing and continue to do it, then I felt that I had to go on, that I had no other choice, because if I didn't, then conditions would never get better. And that's part of where it's coming from when I made this statement that the dean read a few minutes ago, where I said that when I was young, I got my spirit and my motivation from the old people. And today, I get it from so many young people that are doing positive things. So when I wanted to call and I felt that spirit dwindling, I'd sing a few songs and I'd think about what they went through and how they must have suffered even to the condition that I couldn't think of. So I said, I got to move. I got to keep on keeping on. Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel like our generation, this generation, will ever truly understand what you've gone through, what other lives have gone through, why we have the right to have say, and will ever be able to sympathize with it?
I believe that most of the generation today do have some sympathy, do have some understanding for that which we went through. I think part of the problem is, number one, is that we are in a state of denial because we're in this great country and this is happening and we got this. We're in a state of denial of the reality of what it is that we are facing. And because of that, then we fall short. The other thing is that the media, who for the most part is against us, have fed us that which is not true and have us buying into a concept that is detrimental to us. You hear a few people say, young folks today ain't nothing, ain't gonna be nothing, and never will be nothing. They're not interested in anything. Now, what I want to say to you is that there are a lot more young people that are active today, participating in activities that is related to what we call civil rights, than there were back then. Take Mississippi, for example, my home state. If you take out the 1964 Summer Project out of the movement scenario, if you take those 3 to 6 months out of the picture, there never was a time when there was more than 25 of us that was working the whole state of Mississippi. Today, I can take you in certain counties in Mississippi and show you that many young people in one county that's doing things. But the media don't publicize that. But you let this brother here do something that's mischievous, that's negative. They're going to put his picture up there, they're going to talk about it, and then they're going to have the world believing that everybody else that is in that age group is the same kind of person that he is or that she is. So we have bought into that and have allowed that to be penetrated in our hearts and our minds, that keep us from doing what others have done, even though we have the capability of doing it. Other questions? Wait a minute. Then we'll come back to UB2 and UB3.
How did your parents react when you said you were going to be a part of the civil rights movement?
My parent was all right with me working on voter registration. They had no idea that I had some other things in mind. And I was afraid to tell them because I didn't know how they would react. It's just like, so they didn't have any problem with me registering people to vote. That night, when I knew I was going to have the demonstration that next day, I didn't tell my parents I'm fixing to go participate in a sit-in demonstration. No, because what if my dad had said, no, you can't go, just like the other children's parents had said, then I'd have been shut down. But what I did was that I said to my parent, I won't be back tonight. I'm going to spend the night in Macomb with some other friends of mine. That's what I told them. You know what they said? They said, okay, fine. Just make sure you take care of yourself and be good. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Right on out. Heading for the SNCC office, knowing that we're going to leave there and go have this sit-in demonstration. So, when I got arrested, they called my parents and told them what I had done. My daddy came out to the mass meeting, and he spoke from the position that I was old enough to make decisions for myself, and that whatever decision I made were my decisions, and he would back me in whatever decision I made. That was his position. He never came back to any other meetings, but from what I found out later was that he defended me to the rest of the family and the rest of the community. The white folks sent a message to him by one of our relatives who was about his age and told him that very nicely, said, John, if you get that boy out of this mess, the white folks will help you. So even though my dad had got no further than the second grade, he could do a little ad. And he told my cousin to tell the white folks that I was his 12th child and that I had finished high school. And the white folks had not helped him with the 11 before me or with me all through the 12th grade. So why should he expect to depend on that? Then they got mad and said, you tell him, if you don't get him out, we're going to come down there and get some of his donkey. You know, he called the donkey the other thing. And his backside. You know. Y'all know what the other name for a donkey is, right? All right. So they told me, if you don't get me out of here, come down there and get some of his donkey. So my daddy was not nonviolent and didn't believe in it. So my daddy told him, so you tell them, if they want to get some of this I got, they got to bring some. And I'm prepared to get my share of whatever they bring. So, they never came. My father had to defend my position to family members because even my brothers and sisters was trying to convince my daddy that I had literally lost my mind and that he needed to do something to me to get me to go back into my mind and be the kind of person I was supposed to be. So that's part of how that family thing took place. You remember to it.
How difficult was it for you to never fight back? And I mean, what kept you alive?
Oh, that was tough. Ooh, that was tough. For being good. Whew. Oh, Almighty God kept me. That's the short answer. Let me tell you, see, I never fully accepted nonviolence. I wanted to be nonviolent because I didn't want to mess up the movement. See, because out there in the country where I live, I mean, I was ready to kill somebody a whole lot I really was. I say that because anytime you saw me, I had both my hands in my pocket like this. Sometimes I say I still carry that because sometimes I find myself with both my hands in my pocket. I say, oh my God, get my hands out of my pocket. But the reason I had it in there then is because in my left pocket, I carried a switchblade knife. Y'all know what a switchblade is? In my left pocket, I carried a switchblade knife. In my right pocket, you probably don't know what a hook bill is. You know, it's one of them big knives that the blade is hooked like that, but it all fits down. And I could come out of my pocket with both knives open. I could open that hook bill with my right hand as fast as I could open the switchblade with my left hand. And on top of that, I had practiced shooting a rifle. I could shoot a rifle and strike a match as far as I could see it. Or I could cut the stem. You know, I'm preparing to kill some folks. And now, here these folks talking about nonviolence. When I got ready to go to jail that day, he said, got to check to make sure you ain't got nothing else. I said, you ain't gonna be checking and patting on me. I said, here, just put my knives up, you know, keep my get back. But trying to not bring about harm to the movement, I constantly prayed that my nonviolence would never be severely tested, because I didn't know literally what I would do. And I was growing up out there on the farm carrying them big sacks of fertilizer. They didn't bring them in 25 and 50-pound sacks and bags then. Everything came in 100-pound sacks. Working out there, I could carry 2 of them with no problem at all. You know, so I was prepared, I was strong, and that's why I just constantly prayed, please don't let my nonviolence be severely tested. You know, because I know I'd kill somebody and I didn't really want to do it. So that's what carried me through. Almighty God, answer my prayer because it was sincere. And my nonviolence was never severely tested. Got slapped a little bit, kicked 1 or 2 times, but that's no severity thing. And I managed to go through it. But, you know, and as I was going through it, I realized the importance of not using violence, because that was a short way for me to end my tenure in the movement, because I would either be wiped out, put in jail, or literally killed, and now I can't help nobody, just sit up and look. So that's how I got through that process. Yes, sir, I think you will.
Do you remember, like, through the years, different times when you realized things started getting better, like the freedom, you started getting some more of the freedom that you had wanted, and you remember, like, how that felt? As far as civil rights, and you started being able to eat with at the same restaurants and all that stuff.
The first sign to me that things was really getting better was when I began to see more and more black people willing to go down to the courthouse and attempt to register. Things like that were the major markers for me. When I began to see the attendance at the mass meetings we had, probably heard about we having mass meetings, all of this stuff that goes on in the mass meetings. But see, in the early days, we had mass meetings and only 3 to 4 people showed up. But they were our mass meetings. So beginning to see the number of people that were coming out participating in the mass meetings, the number of people that was willing to go down and attempt to register, was an indication that things are getting better. Things are getting better. When we begin to see some of the older people stand up and talk about how we as a community, we as a people have to come together and do things for themselves. Knowing that things is getting better. When I saw a white man out there in the rural area decide that he would no longer pay poor whites and black people $3 a day for the work they did on his place, but instead paid them 75 cents per hour of knowing things are getting better. And then, as a reciprocal piece to that process, I saw poor white and black people rallying to the aid of this man when the rest of the community, the white community, attempted to ostracize him for doing what he did. I knew things were getting better. Small steps, but we're getting better. And on and on and on through that process. But those were some of the beginning signs to me that let me know that things were getting better, that I really felt good about that. Other question? Yes.
Did you guys get equality in Baltimore?
Say it again.
Did you guys get all the equality in Baltimore?
Oh, Lord. No, sir. No, sir. For example, I fought, one of the things that I was fighting for was a decent, first-rate, quality educational system that was open and available to all people. We don't have that today. We have a battle going on today with the educational systems. We have a private versus public fight that is taking place. See, I didn't fight for us to grow up to be able to fight one another in that battle. So there are a lot of things that I fought for. I fought for the right for us to have the opportunity to run and express ourselves as it relates to political position. We don't have that now. Nowadays, when you get ready to run for an office, people will tell you, if you're going to run for this office, you need these many $1,000s. If you're going to run for this. So what does that do? That is a discriminatory act that prevents people that are less fortunate in terms of resource from attaining positions that they could be the best qualified. I remember years back I had the opportunity to visit Nicaragua. And this was after the Sandinistas had taken over, before our government came in and overthrew Ortega. But they had a political system by which anybody that wanted to run for office could run, and they had just as much airtime or opportunity on the radio or the TV to express their opinion, their desire, as the other person. Money had nothing to do with it. So there's a lot of other things that I fought for, that I'm still fighting for, because the battle is not over, and I still got a little strength left, and I'm still on the battlefield fighting for my people. But we definitely have not gotten all of the things that we should have, all of the things that I have been fighting for, and the things that I'm fighting for now. For that very reason is part of the reason that I started Southern Echo 21 years ago, which is a leadership development, education, and training organization that provides training and technical assistance to individual organization groups throughout Mississippi and the southern region, especially in the South, sometime outside of the South. People ask me, why you say Southern? So you don't know how I define Southern. I define my own words for myself and work accordingly to what you mean. I said, I define Southern as being anything that is south of the North Pole, and anything that is south of the North Pole, I have jurisdiction. Other question?
extremely negative experiences at the hands of hatred in that sense, and worked alongside people who had the same passions as you did. And I want to know how that's going to shape your perceptions of that.
Well, see, early on, as a very young child, I had love for everybody. And as I began to see the things that white people were doing to my people in the condition, then I began to build up a resistance and a kind of hatred towards white people because of what they were doing. And as I slowly worked through this maze that I'm going through, I began to realize that I could never find peace in myself, hating somebody else, being angry with somebody else. I got to the point where I realized that if my sister here can make me angry, she controls me. And I don't want anybody to control me. So, by her controlling me, by making me angry, I got to stop that from happening. So my anger and the hatred and all of that began to subside for the best interest of me. And then, as a part of that process, I said, why is it that people are doing what they're doing? Many of them are doing it because they saw somebody else doing it and don't know the real reason, or because someone told them to do it. It's kind of like the thing where they say, a man asked the lady, said, well, why do you cut the end of your roast off? And she said, I saw my mother cutting it off. This is the way she cooked it. She cut the end of the roast off and she put it on in the pot. But when you went down through the generations, finally got to, the lady says, well, why did you cut the end of your roast off? She said, because my pot was too small for it to go in. So a lot of us just do things because we saw somebody else doing it, do things because somebody else said this is what you should do, without you giving it the kind of thought that you need to give it. And mine, as I say, ultimately, at first, was selfishness. I didn't want nobody controlling me, so if I don't want you to control me, I got to get to the point where it doesn't matter what you say, what you do, you don't make me angry. And see, anger does turn into, in many cases, in most cases, hate. So by controlling the anger, I'm also controlling and reducing and eliminating that which ultimately comes is hate. So as a result, then I'm knowing that just like I became aware, becoming aware through whatever process is necessary is what most of us need, and that's one of the reasons I focus so much on informing and educating people about issues, situations, or whatever it is that ultimately turns out to be the best, as I see it, for everybody that's involved.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Just one more question.
One more question, then we'll sing a song or two, and then we'll come back and get some more questions. Yes, ma'am.
With hindsight, do you think that Freedom Summer was a good project, that it had a positive effect or a negative effect on the movement?
It had both. I was adamantly opposed to the Freedom Summer Project coming about the way it came about. Now, why was I opposed to that? I was opposed because I saw black people beginning to take the initiative in doing what needed to be done in their communities to make their communities better. I felt that with all of these energetic, bright young people coming to Mississippi, only for a few months, they're going to be willing, ready, and in most cases, able to do all of the things that needed to be done. So when something came up that needed to be done, they would say, I take care of that. I do this. No, you just stay right here. Let me do it. No, I got this. And before you know it, the people who had begun to take initiative sat down. And after sitting down for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, that position got comfortable. Now, they've been sitting there for 3, 4, 6 months doing nothing because the young folks did all that needed to be done. Now, they out of here, going back to where they came from. And the few of us that stayed, we come and say, we need you to do this tomorrow. And you know what the answer I get? Well, I'm not sure whether I can do this because I'm just not sure. And I said, well, you know, you was doing it, you have done this. Yeah, but things are a little different now. I have to talk it over. So that's what I was afraid of. That did happen. Knowing that it is a lot easier to keep people in motion and keep them going than it is to let them stop and start them all over again. That is the major reason I was opposed to that. But when we look at what happened as a result of the 1964 Summer Project, a lot of good stuff come out of it, you know, and I can't deny that, you know. So there was some good and there was some bad, but the battle goes on and we have to continue in that process. So I wouldn't attempt to deny the good that came out of it because it's set the stage for us to have the passage of the Voting Rights Act. You know, in 1965, you know, it set the stage and helped in the process with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. You know, all of those good things. It informed a lot of people across the world, the United States, about what was going on, and many of them, when they went back, they became very active in their own community. I tell people all the time, I say, I don't know about other folks, but there was one young man that was on the project where I was the project director in 1964 in Holmes County, Mississippi. When this young man got ready to leave, he came in and he said, Hollis, say, I thank you very much, old buddy. Say, I really do. So I've learned a lot. And I'll give my word, and I promise. When I get back, he said, I'm going to give them hell, old buddy. I'm going to give them hell. That's what he told me. You know who that was? Somebody you may or may not have heard of, but his name was Mario Savo. When he went back out to the West Coast, free speech movement, set Berkeley on fire with things going on. So, a lot of good, and there were some bad things too. And I tried not to so much accentuate the negative, accentuate the positive, so they will motivate rather than discourage. Now, we'll sing a song. This particular song we sang, y'all heard me singing the first song, right? But this particular song helps us to overcome fear. And it goes like this. I want everybody to just listen, and then 30 seconds later, you can sing it along with me. Ain't scared of nobody, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Ain't scared of nobody, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. Say that with me. Ain't scared of nobody. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Scared of nobody, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Once more. Ain't scared of nobody, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Ain't scared of nobody, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. I'll carry a picket sign, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Carry a picket sign, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. And when they brought out the dogs, we added a verse for the dogs that said, ain't scared of no dog, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Ain't scared of no dog, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. Ain't scared of nobody, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Ain't scared of nobody, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. There were times when they would say to us, if you don't turn around and go back, we're going to put all of you in jail. Now, jail used to be a frightening place, especially for black folks, because so many black folks that went to jail never made it out alive. Now, we're going to add a verse now for the jail. I think it might go a little bit better if you clap your hands as a part. Ain't scared to go to jail, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Ain't scared to go to jail, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I march downtown, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I march downtown, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. See, now when you're working with your kindergarten kids, you add a verse like this. Yeah, we work with them too. And they love it. They get to sing it. So when you're dealing with them, and in some cases it applies to some of us, we add the verse that says, I'll stay in school, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I'll stay in school, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I'll register to vote, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I'll register to vote, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. And when you find a good candidate that you can vote for, you interject that verse. Anybody got the name of a good candidate? I'll vote for Obama, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I'll vote for Obama, 'cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. All right, warming up, we get there. Now, this is another song I want us to sing. I think I might want to, once we learn this one, I think I might want us to stand on this one. But this is a song that we took from Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte, he did a song that he called the Banana Boat Song. His song kind of went like this. Hey-oh, he said, hey-oh, hey. Daylight come and I wanna go home. So we took it and we said, freedom, give us freedom. Hey, freedom come and it won't be long. See if we can say that. Freedom, freedom, freedom come and it won't be long. Well, I took a little trip on the Greyhound bus. Yeah, freedom come and it won't be long. Justified discrimination and this we must. Yeah, freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey, freedom come and it won't be long. Well, some says Peter and some says Paul. Freedom come and it won't be long. Well, it's only one God that made us. Oh yeah, freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey, freedom come and it won't be long. Well, the one thing that all we did wrong, freedom only won't be long. Well, we stayed divided just a day too long. Hey, freedom only won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey, freedom come and it won't be long. Well, the one thing that all we did right, freedom come and it won't be long. Well, it was the day we started this fight. Freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, yeah, freedom come and it won't be long. Well, if you don't believe that I've been to hell, freedom come and it won't be long. Just so follow me up to that Parchment jail. Freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey, freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey, freedom come and it won't be long. If you miss me from the back of the bus, see, one time, black folks had to ride in the back, ride up front. So we sang that song about that, a lot of other things. So, if you miss me from the back of the bus, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up to the front of the bus. I'll be riding up there. So we can say that. If you miss me from the back of the bus, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up to the front of the bus. I'll be riding up there in the front. I'll be riding up there. I'll be riding up there. Come on up to the front of the bus. I'll be riding up there. If you miss me from the back of the bus, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up to the front of the bus. I'll be driving up there in the front. I'll be driving up there. I'll be driving up there. Come on up to the front of the bus. I'll be driving up there. Said one time in Mississippi, we couldn't go to Ole Miss, but we wanted to go, so we added a verse. And we said, if you miss me from Jackson State, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up to Ole Miss. I'll be studying up there at Ole my favorite here. So if you don't catch it, go with me on the first time. We're going to do it again. If you miss me from the picket line and you can't, nobody say it with me. If you miss me from the picket line and you can't find me nowhere, come on down to the city hall. I'll be serving as the mayor, as the mayor. I'll be serving as the mayor. I'll be serving as the mayor. Come on down to the city hall. I'll be serving as the mayor. I want to know if we got any brothers in here that can sing bass, want to sing bass, will sing a little bass. Let me see your hand. We got any sisters? Come on now, come up here with me, brother. The house is open for more volunteers. More volunteers.
I know someone else has got a deep voice.
All right, come on. Now, they're going to get the start key after a minute, but I want you to get this part down. I want this group in the center, I want you to say, been down into the south. Been down into the south. Once more. Been down into the south. Two flags on each side. Been down into the south. Once more. Been down into the south. Now, I want this group here to say, hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom. This group over here. Hallelujah, freedom. Once more. Hallelujah, freedom. This group over here. Hallelujah, freedom. Once more. Hallelujah, freedom. Now, there's a part that goes like this. The full part is sing hallelujah. You catch in with the hallelujah part. The bass is going to say sing. Sing hallelujah. They're going to lead you into when they come right in. Now give me an example. Give me an example of how it's going to go. I'm going to do a verse. Haven't been to heaven, but I've been told. Been down into the south. Heaven there, no Jim Crow. Been down into the south. Sing hallelujah, free. Sing hallelujah, free. Sing hallelujah, freedom. Been down into the south. I haven't been to heaven, but I've been told. Been down into the south. In heaven there no Jim Crow. Been down into the south. Hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom. Been down into the south. The people in heaven are black and white. Been down into the south. Hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom. Been down into the south. The one thing that we did right. Been there were a lot of, the question was whether there were sympathetic white people. Yes, there were a lot of sympathetic white people that were sympathetic to our cause. One of the things that we failed to realize is that the white people who were sympathetic to our cause was as scared of the other white folks as black folks was. So they weren't willing and ready to come out into the open. They would send you messages by whomever they knew they could trust that would get the message to you and give you advice. And sometimes, for example, we would be in our office working and planning and doing different things, and you hear a white voice that come over the phone and says, I'm calling to let you know that tonight you need to be very careful, extremely careful, because there's a good possibility that this is going to happen tonight. So be on the lookout. Be on the watch. Now, who could that be? The daughter of a white man, the wife of a white man, the mother or whatever, who know that the man has been planning. So she is informing us. At that time, most of the white people that they came out into the open, they were ostracized and was pressured to run away and leave. But we know that there were a number of white people in the community that supported what we were doing, but just was too afraid to come out, because then, in addition to being considered or called a nigger lover, they were considered to be a traitor. And if you looked at some of the early demonstrations, in many cases, initially, if there were white people that was a part of the demonstration, the white from the community that came out and attacked would have tried to attack the white students or white people, whoever they were that was in the march, before doing it to the black, because they considered them to be a traitor to their race. And that was part of the process, is you got 2 or 3 whites that's a part of this discrimination, of this demonstration. White people is coming out to attack them, then the blacks would form a protective shield and circle around them so that they would reap the blunt of whatever the other folks was throwing. So there were a number of people that supported our cause. We'll come back to you.
What were your thoughts as in the later 60s and in the 70s? There was a lot of violence among, it kind of went from nonviolence, and there were a lot of riots and violence that happened, like Black Power. And what did you think about that as a nonviolence?
Well, now the riots, all of that kind of stuff, that was a separate piece from the Black Power thing.
Yeah.
The whole Black Power piece was not properly portrayed, and the whole Black Power movement, as it turned out, which the Panthers and all of that were a part of, was infiltrated by the FBI and the CIA, guided and directed people in a way by which they could bring the wrath of their armed services down on them. I thought that was very unfortunate that they fell into that kind of trap. I also thought that it was unfortunate that people allowed their anger and their frustration to build up to a point by which they begin to riot and tear up their own communities and all those kinds of things that would have to be rebuilt, and in many instances rebuilt by themselves if it was to be rebuilt. So I thought that was very unfortunate as a part of that process, and that's what part of what I mean when I was talking about is somebody make you angry, frustrated, and all that. They control you because you can't think about what should happen, what is happening in a rational manner. So So I thought it was very unfortunate that that took place. And see, here again, based on the infiltration, when we're talking about the Panthers, as we saw it, the original Panthers were not considered or called Panthers because in Lowndes County, Alabama, middle-aged men and their families decided that they were going to build a political and economic base in that county, and that they were willing and would be prepared to protect that in any means by any means necessary if people came against it. So they ran people for political office, and as a part of the strategizing, they said the emblem of the Lowndes County Democratic Party is a big white rooster, a chicken, the bell that goes with the hen, the big rooster, lily white. And they says, now, if we going up against this party that's got this emblem of this big white rooster, what can we use as our emblem that will destroy the big white rooster? So they said a big black cat. And that's where the first emblem of the Black Panther came about. And then folks started calling them Black Panthers. And then younger folks got to talking about taking it beyond what the people in Lowndes County, Alabama, was talking about taking it. And they began to talk about how they were going to exact retribution through violence on white people. And the FBI and the CIA infiltrated that group of young folks and pushed them on in that direction so that ultimately they would know everything they're doing, when they were going to do it, and therefore be able to come in and destroy them. Just wanted to give you that little bit. One more. One more. One more time. One more time. Yes, sir.
How do you feel about a whole bunch of idealistic college kids like us going down to Mississippi with them about?
Well, it's like I say, I was opposed to the 1964 summer project coming about the way it came about. I wanted a much smaller number of people to come in, and each of the people that came in be placed under the leadership of some of the local people that was working in that area for them to get their guidance and instruction from those people. But when you're part of an organization, it don't go the way you want it or think it needs to go all the time. But because it doesn't go the way you think it should go, does that mean you should bail out and go in some other direction? So, I lost the vote. So, they all coming in here. Since they're coming in here, yeah, I'm going to work with the project. I had 22 on my project, but I was the project director. I laid down the rules of what was to take place because I'm from Mississippi. I worked in Mississippi. I know the culture and all of that of Mississippi. So I'm going to lay down the rules in a manner that we all will follow, and by following them, it would be beneficial to everybody that's involved. And let you know up front, I'm the director. These are the rules. If you feel like you can't follow the rules, I don't have anything against you for going back to Jackson and being relocated.